to my channel and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 easy make-ahead meals for a busy week. These are meals that can be made ahead of time. You can keep the ingredients either separate or put the whole thing together and then store them in your fridge until you need them. They also are meals that do not have to be made ahead of time. You can definitely make them fresh, but they do hold up well in the fridge as leftovers. So without further ado, let's jump in and start cooking.
So the first of our make-ahead meals today is going to be a gluten-free pasta bake. So the first thing I'm going to do is chop up some vegetables to roast. On this particular day, I decided to use carrots and zucchini, but you can really use whatever you've got on hand. Onions are good, carrots, bell pepper, broccoli, mushrooms, really whatever you have works. So I just oiled my veggies and put some salt on them, and then I'm going to pop them into a 400-degree oven and get started on my sauce. So I've got about a half a pound here of ground turkey, some marinara sauce, and some seasonings. And then I'm going to bring some water up to a boil to start cooking up my gluten-free pasta. I have really been liking this Banza brand of gluten-free pasta lately. It's made from chickpeas. I find it holds up really well, especially if you're baking it, and the texture is really nice. So here my vegetables are finished roasting, and I'm going to start cooking up my pasta. When that is finished cooking, I'm going to combine my cooked pasta, my meat sauce, my roasted vegetables up in a big pot with some mozzarella, some parmesan, and an egg. And then I will go ahead and empty everything into this 9x13 baking dish. Next, I will just sprinkle on a few remaining tablespoons each of my shredded mozzarella and shredded parmesan. And from here, you can either bake this in the oven if you're making it fresh, or you can cover this up and stick it in your fridge for up to 4 days. The next make-ahead dish that we're going to be making is a quinoa enchilada casserole, and this one is vegetarian. So every time I cook with quinoa, I always like to soak it ahead of time, overnight, in a mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. That just helps get rid of some of the phytic acid, which is an anti-nutrient that naturally lives in quinoa and makes it a bit more digestible. Then I'm just going to cook this up with some bone broth while I get started on chopping my veggies. So this particular time I'm using an onion, a zucchini, and some red bell pepper, but you can really get creative with any type of vegetables you'd like to use in this dish. Next, I'm just going to pop these into a sauté pan just to soften them up before they go into the casserole. In a large mixing bowl, I'm going to combine my sautéed vegetables, some grated cheddar cheese, my cooked quinoa, a can or 2 cups here of black beans, some enchilada sauce, and then I will also add in some seasonings. I just use taco seasoning and oregano. I will mix this up and spread it evenly into an 8x8 casserole dish. I top mine with salsa as well for some extra color and added flavor. And then I will top this with some cheese. And again, this can go right into my fridge or it can be baked if I'm ready to cook it right away. If you're making this ahead, you can refrigerate it for up to 3 days. The next thing we're going to be making is a shepherd's pie, and I have this in quotes because it's not a real shepherd's pie, but it's a healthier version of one. So the first thing I'm going to do is chop up about half of a head of cauliflower into small florets. Instead of using just potatoes on the top of this like a traditional shepherd's pie would, we're going to use a mix of half potatoes and half cauliflower. So I'll get the cauliflower chopped up, I'll get my potatoes chopped up, and then I will toss all of these together to cook. So I'm just bringing some salted bone broth up to a boil, and then I'm going to toss my potatoes and cauliflower in to cook once it's boiling. While my cauliflower and potatoes cook, I'm going to get started on chopping up some fresh vegetables. So I'm going to start with half an onion and 2 carrots, and then I will also throw in some frozen vegetables to this dish as well, but right now I'm just going to start with the onions and carrots. Next, I'm going to heat up some avocado oil in my cast iron skillet. I will toss in some garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and my veggies. Once those are sauteed, I will also toss in half a pound of ground turkey. Next, I will toss in some dried thyme, some tomato paste, some Worcestershire sauce, and a couple of tablespoons of a gluten-free flour. Keep in mind when you're looking for a good Worcestershire sauce, first of all, you can definitely make your own. But if you're not, I would recommend looking for a brand that does not use any high fructose corn syrup or any unpronounceable preservatives. I'm using a brand called Wild Harvest, and it's really good. It's all organic ingredients, and there is no high fructose corn syrup. Next, I will toss in some frozen vegetables. So in this one, I'm going to do frozen peas, a little bit of frozen corn, and then I'm just going to cover this with bone broth and let it simmer. Next, I will add a little bit of Parmesan to my veggie and meat mixture. Then while that cooks, I will get started on making my cauliflower and potato topping. Once my vegetables are cooked, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of butter and some salt, and then I'm going to mix this up with a potato masher. You could definitely put this in your food processor if you would like, but I like a little bit more texture in my topping so it's not so smooth. My kids also, for some reason, like their vegetables to be a little bit chunkier and not smooth, so I'm doing this by hand with a potato masher. I'm going to add in some grated Parmesan. I grated the Parmesan a little bit thicker for this part, and then I'm also going to add in some half and half, salt and pepper, and then at the end here I did decide to add a couple of tablespoons of grated cheddar as well, just because I like kind of that orange color that it gives, but you can definitely just use Parmesan if you would like. Now, if you're choosing to make this dish ahead of time, go ahead and put your potato and cauliflower mixture in one container and your filling in a separate container. Those will keep in the fridge each for about 3 days. When it comes time to assemble it, go ahead and put your filling in either the bottom of a cast iron skillet or a casserole dish, then your potato and cauliflower mixture on top and some cheese. Okay, our last make-ahead meal is going to be stuffed bell peppers. I'm going to start by coring out and removing all of the seeds from 3 bell peppers. Whatever color you have is fine. Then I will get started with my filling. So to start, I'm just going to chop up an onion. I will saute that up in some avocado oil, add some garlic, and some ground turkey. Again, I'm just using about a half a pound. Next, I will add some taco seasoning to this, about a cup of tomato sauce, and a couple of tablespoons of salsa. Clearly, I don't ever measure anything. Then over here, I have got some brown rice cooking up on the stovetop. You can really use whatever kind of rice you've got. I'm going to add the cooked brown rice into my meat and vegetable mixture. And once you've got your peppers prepped and your filling made, you can go ahead and refrigerate each of these components if you're making them ahead of time. Then when it comes time to assemble them, I always like to steam my peppers first just to get them a little bit soft before I fill them. So I'm just putting mine into a steamer basket and covering it up here on my stovetop. Once they are softened, I'm going to go ahead and add some tomato sauce to the bottom of a 9x13 dish, and then I will spread this out and lay down the steamed peppers and then start filling them. Then I am just going to top these with cheese and go ahead and bake them. And there you have it, friends. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe.